Could you tell us what is troubling China that it behaves in a particular way?
Okay, great. Thank you, editor, and thank you also the Straits Times for inviting me to this great forum. I really enjoyed the previous speakers' comments. I think we're having a great transition time. You know, I'm president. We've seen never seen in the history of mankind, because the great transformation of the world, basically. You know that we're almost reached 8 billion population now, and also Asia is rising, particularly exemplified ASEAN. I mean that's really a great story of success, and so I can see now, and also of course same is true with China. China is rising also fast. You know, they just concluded the CPC 20th Party Congress. Basically summarized that in the last decade, China GDP growth has kept about 6%, and China become the largest trading nation with everyone, almost 130 countries in the world. So what I see actually, this morning I see Graham Allison, which is an old friend at Harvard Kennedy School, and I had quite a few dialogue with him too, and so I share some of his sentiment, but of course I think that the war is avoidable, basically.
War is?
Can be avoided.
Avoided.
Okay. That's right. He was destined for war, but I would not say this is a destination that the human being has to get into. What I actually remember also, I talked to Joseph Nye. I had many dialogues with all those global opinion leaders, and basically he was telling me that by 2035, probably China, or 2040, China, US can reach some equilibrium, because I think this kind of rising of China, the process of really rising up, it takes the whole world by surprise. And China has such a big, largest population, 5,000 years of history, big geographic landscape, and rapidly rising in the world, have a different system of governance. That's probably surprised many people, and then it takes time to get used to it. So what I would actually to see is, I think that the title of this conference is absolutely timely, is Asia Future. I think Asia now can be really a more prominent geopolitical force and balance in power, probably. Particularly ASEAN, I see as a very good example of how different countries works together for the last 55 to 56 years, very successfully. Now, ASEAN has 600 million population, almost half of China's population. So become the largest trading nation of China. So I think China can work with Asia to support the Asian big prosperity, like we have done together on the RCEP. China is willing to join CPTPP. My think tank, Center for China Globalization, is a strong support of China joining it.
Sure.
And also DPAR. I mean, Singapore is a party to DPAR, to CPTPP, and I noticed the Singapore Prime Minister just said Australia welcome China to join CPTPP. I think this is great. China can be also on those regional trade scheme, because I think the safest, the best measure to prevent the future war is by expanding the trade, expanding the prosperity, and expand the intertwine among all nations, including the United States. I say that's why the U.S. has 70,000 U.S. companies in China, generate 700 billion revenue a year. How can they really? The two countries decouple. I mean, in theory it can. But I think in the end, it's really violating the market forces and competitive advantage. Those, great, the economic law we've been following for so many years. So what I think is, the same is true, and we are now having the German chancellor visiting China soon. German company has 5,000 of them in China, and BASF just invested 10 billion in Guangdong, and BMW, Volkswagen, all expansion. So I think China, the party Congress reports that China has created 400 million middle class. Now they are seeking modernization, right? They are seeking the common prosperity. how about we lift another 300 million migrant workers in the urban center into the middle class? So I think there's a lot of market potential for China, and then which attract the world. I think that the attitudes the Chinese government taking is fine right now. For example, U.S. has put almost 1,000 Chinese companies on some kind of entity list or watchable list. But China has done very few, except this 1 or 2 companies selling weapons to Taiwan. China has not sanctioned any U.S. companies. So that's really, I personally think it's the right attitude. We want to engage. We want to relink, of course, and not decouple. We want to, strengthen the tie. So what I see the future for Asia, you mentioned about countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and all those countries are doing great. I mean, I would think the ASEAN and China and even in the future with India, with Pakistan, and now also the Shanghai Cooperation Organization also expanding into economic domain now. Let's really practice the economic globalization further, inclusive, balanced, but not really military alliance, like we're strengthening NATO, we're strengthening Five Eyes, we're strengthening AUKUS, we're strengthening Quad, we're having IPAF, where China is doing basically, BRI, RCEP, trying to join CPTPP and DPA, China-African Cooperation, and also FTA, China, Japan, and Korea. So China is pursuing economic globalization, still setting up more economic alliance rather than secure alliance. I think that's probably the right way to go. And so what I think now, it's doing great. For example, China's built a speed railway now in Indonesia. I think the president of Indonesia, we're going to take the G20 leaders to have a ride on that pretty soon. And we're building another speed railway in Thailand. We already built one to Laos. Let's connect all the ASEAN countries with the great economic connectivity of this part of the world. And let's show if we can really build prosperity and can really rise and support, become a big engine, support the future growth of the world. I think we're seeing a lot of problems in other parts of the world, but also China has its own challenges too. Mm-hmm. And it's all still affected by this COVID. We still have that pandemic still a big factor affecting China's GDP this year. So I think we have to really work together, and with all the countries. I agree totally with Professor Wang that South China will not be a problem. We can always peacefully utilize together joint exploitation and code of conduct.
I don't think Prof. Wang said South China is not a problem.
No.
I don't think he
what
said
I'm
that.
saying is not going to have a war. Yeah. He was saying the only war that could happen is in Taiwan. I agree with that. But South China Sea, we don't need to have a war. There's no possibility to have a war.
Oh, yeah.
We can work out, in the end, from my personal perspective. So I think that, we talk about Asia is great. Asian is rising and Asia has a lot of opportunities. But I think, we should have Asian, American, Europe, and let's get all the continent work together. Strengthen multilateralism, and let's work together for the prosperity and peaceful. Let's fight the common threats, climate change, pandemic, all those, poverty and all those that facing the mankind. People from Mars will joke at us, people on the Earth. All those global villagers, why they fight? Why can't they get along? It's really, so can we overcome that? We're in a nuclear age now. It's going to be devastating if we have any conflict. So that is different than the 16th scenario that my friend Grandma Anderson was talking about. We're in a nuclear age. So anything is made an area that could be devastating. So we have to be extremely careful to avoid that. So I think economic and prosperity is the only way to do that. And China can play an active role for that.
Well, I get what you said, and I suspect, at least it's my personal belief, that some of the problems between the US and China got worse after you mentioned 75,000 US companies in China. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Well, the US Chamber of Commerce in Beijing, from 2014, they've been recording the profitability of American companies in China has been steadily coming down. You might be aware of that. But I also want to pick you up on this, what you just concluded with, talking about China as a force for prosperity for the region and all that. But we Asians, we believe in holistic ways of life and all that. Just the economy argument itself is not good enough for us. We also want to be treated well. We don't want to be trampled upon. So it's just an observation I want to make. But you heard Dr. Lutwak, you heard Alison. You said, Sir Henry, that it was avoidable. And I want to take a poll of the three of you. It might be avoidable, but is war inevitable? Is it a yes or a no?
I don't think the war is inevitable. I think that if we work hard, if we really work hard, and then we can really prevent that. I mean, that's why we see we have to. There's a Kinderberg trap now. I mean, there's a gap. I mean, U.S. is backing off all those multilateral systems, creating during the Trump era, obviously. So China probably is not really strong enough to provide many global public goods, but China is trying. China is already the second largest donor to the United Nations now.
Sure.
And so let's really, this difficult adjustment period of time, let's really carefully maintain the global system. China doesn't want to change that.
Right.